Alright, so today we are testing Once Human with the RTX 4070 Super that is paired with a 14600KF CPU on Intel i5, and that again is paired with DDR5 6400 megatransfers per second CL32 memory, 32 gigabytes of it, and we are running at 1080p on the very high preset here. So I wanted to capture gameplay while it was still light outside, or when it was light outside. You can see it's 8:30 a.m. in the top right hand corner there, 8:32 in the game world. And I do have some connectivity issues to the European server, sitting at around 174 milliseconds of input latency, or network latency, sorry. And that's just unfortunately one of the things of living in South Africa, right? You are pretty much very far away from most game servers. And just to show you a little bit of the game here, I can't shoot. So we are at 1080p on the very high preset. As I said, we are getting a very high frame rate here, but the lows are pretty terrible, as is the norm with the Unreal Engine 5 games, most of them anyway. This game does run on Unreal Engine 5, but I must say that this is not the best use of the engine I've seen so far in a game when it comes to visuals. It's very lacking, but once again, I don't think we should complain too much, because either we get exceptional visuals or we get exceptionally poor performance. And for this, like, the visuals aren't terrible, but they aren't great at all. But we do get we do see very decent performance, right? So even though we're at 1080p, we are mostly the GPU bound. You can see our GPU busy deviation there is sitting at 5%, and that means we are only being CPU bottlenecked around 5%, right? So all in all, not terrible performance, but it does suffer from the usual Unreal Engine 5 traversal and shadow compilation stutter. Sometimes the game can freeze for even like 2-3 seconds, even on this system, if you enter a new area, and it does become a little bit troublesome. Although they are few and far between. Just from my experience, I haven't come across too many stutters actually, but when they do occur, they are definitely noticeable. So let me just skin this deer here quickly, and we'll just drop this down to the medium preset to see if we actually do see a performance benefit, although I don't think we will. In case you were wondering, all these wooden structures here, these are all player buildings, not those, but the wooden ones. It's quite populated where I am at the moment. Anyway, so let's just drop this down to the medium preset quickly and see if we do see some performance benefits. I don't think we will, because we should be like on the brink of being completely CPU bound here. So let's just go over the settings here quickly. So it's very, very basic, like one of the more basic Unreal Engine 5 UIs I've seen. So we've got basics and performance. We've got very high, middle, low, very low, and whoops, that's the wrong button completely. And if we go back there, there's not a lot you can adjust here. You do have a render scale. Not entirely sure which this would be. Would it be a TSR, which usually comes with Unreal Engine 5, right? Temporal super resolution. I haven't played around with that too much because the frame rate is quite high, but these are basically all your settings, right? So we're very high. Let's just drop this down to the middle preset, and it says resetting texture quality. What I've seen so far is there are a lot of graphical glitches on the medium preset. Now the game wants us to restart, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that quickly. Right, here we are right where we left off, and we are still getting around 200 and just above 200 frames per second, at 240 to be exact. So it does seem to have helped, but you can see the stuttering is still there, and our 0.2% lows are pretty terrible. But just look at the foliage, for instance. Like, it's the draw distance is much lower on the mid preset, and I've actually seen some, like, the foliage just disappears and reappears at times. So I do think just avoid the medium preset for now. Very high preset does give you a very decent performance as well. So if you're playing at 1080p, that is. So no need to lower the visuals for there. So let's go up to 1440p on the very high preset again, and then I'll restart the game. Actually, just to avoid too many restarts, I'm just going to select the 2560 by 1440p resolution here, and we haven't changed any graphical settings here. So we'll test all the medium presets and then we'll move on to the high presets after a restart, right? Because you don't have to restart the game when you change resolution, you only have to restart the game when you change the graphical presets. All right, so still getting a very high frame rate here, but now you can see our GPU is actually sitting at 100%. Not many games can utilize or actually do utilize a GeForce GPU at 100%. It's usually locked around 99%. Some games do push it up to 100%, but they are very few and far between. But now you can see we're getting an average frame rate here of 180 frames per second. I mean, current frame rate is around 160, 170. So that's very decent. And I mean, medium doesn't look terrible, but there's definitely a big difference between the very high and the medium preset here. But just running around, just want to see if we can actually get some traversal stutters, shadow compilation stutters going on here. As you can see, they're not that frequent, but as I said earlier, when they do happen, they are definitely very noticeable. So just going to shoot a few people here, and they are slightly higher level than me. Headshots actually do count in this game. So for those of you who don't know, this is a survival crafting open world game, and it looks kind of fun. It's free on Steam, I think free on all storefronts. So if you want to give it a shot, I mean, it's free, so you can go ahead and just get it. I've seen it on Epic and then on Steam, and as you can see here at 1440p, getting a pretty decent frame rate here. Not the best visuals, as I said earlier, but definitely playable. Not too many issues with stuttering, etc. But if we just open the map, I know it's going to screw up the numbers a bit. So just we're sitting with an average here of 169. Right. So if we open the map, it's pretty big. So the area we are in, that we were running in, is just this small area over here. And let me just get rid of that. So you can see it's a pretty big map. So if we fast travel to certain areas, that's when we see quite a bit of stuttering, right? So let's just go out here and let's bump this up to 4K. I don't even think we need to play on low on 4K. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll set it to the very high preset and go through the resolutions again. Right, we're now at 4K, and I just want to see if the GUI or the overlay is still fine. So we're getting 80 frames per second here on the medium preset of 4K. 4K definitely it looks a lot sharper, right? Even on the medium preset. So you still have the issues of a low level of detail, meaning that stuff in the distance is lower detail than stuff closer to you. And then we also have the popping, right? So that's, you can see the trees there in the distance, like they do change form with my cross areas, right? So as you get closer, they change quite a bit. And this doesn't happen that often on the very high preset, but this is actually pretty impressive, I must say, getting around 80 frames per second. Sure, considering the visuals, it's not that impressive, but it is it's not a small game, as I said. Like, it's a very, very big map, and our frame time graph is pretty smooth here. We are, I mean, sure, the frame rate is half of what it was at 1440p, and so the frame time graph would be a little less erratic, if I can call it that. But I did not expect this smoothness. And even at 4K on the medium preset, we are sitting with 4.5 gigabytes of VRAM used, which is not a lot. All right, so that's going to be it for 4K on the medium preset. We have an average here of 87 frames per second. Our 1% closer sitting at 58, and you can see we're sitting at between 2 and 3% for GPU busy deviation, right? So pretty much GPU bound all of the time. All right, so I'm going to drop this or set this to the very high preset, and then we'll cycle through the resolutions again. But just to show you what the low preset actually enables, or the middle preset actually enables, is texture quality is set to low. You only have low and very high. And then the funny thing here is VFX. We've got mid, very high, and very high. Okay, so I mean, I did test. There's no difference between very high and very high, and that's pretty much it. Like there's really not a lot you can change in this game except for maybe render scale. All right, so we might use that at 4K when we use the very high preset. And the presets, we also have very high and very high. So the only difference, well, there's actually a difference, right? So we've got very high and very high, and if we just select very high, we get the vegetation density set to mid and detail set to low, right? And this VFX set to normal very high. And then if we select the very, very high preset, we get okay, so everything is then maxed out, right? And okay, so this is where we'll be playing it, right? And I'm going to restart the game. All right, so we're back at 1440p on the very high preset, not the normal very high preset, and getting 130 frames per second here. This is actually how I played this game up until this point, getting basically got an average of around 125 frames per second over about an hour's playtime. So this is how I'll be playing this game on the 4070 Super. I do have a 1440p 165 Hz IPS panel, so game looks pretty decent there. Don't know if you saw that graphical glitch over there, but the very high preset definitely does look much better than the mid preset. The mid preset looks pretty mid, and you can see that the level of detail pop in is definitely much better on the very high preset. So let's just get some meat going. I only shoot these because I am actually on a quest to get some skins. Don't know what you call it. Hides, that's what we want. So I need to craft some stuff, but I do have a gun or two. I don't think I'm supposed to be having a gun yet. Well, I crafted myself a gun because I did not do all the quests. I just ran around, killed stuff, and crafted stuff. Anyway, so at this point you do get a gun from a quest, but before that I had quite a few guns. Anyway, just rambling on here. Getting an average here of 136 frames per second. 1% lows are sitting at 72, and our 0.2% lows are sitting at 51. For those of you wondering, I'm using Capframe X for my overlay, and it runs on RTSS, but for some reason I can't get it to show 0.1% lows in the overlay. I can get it to show in a benchmark run, which provides you with a graph at the end, but not on screen. All right, so I actually just want to test the resolution scaling here at 1440p. So looking this way, we're getting 138 frames per second. Let's see what happens once we enable resolution scaling. I'm just going to leave that on because it does actually update in the background. So render scale, let's just put it to 67%, which means it would be similar to DLSS quality. I mean 67%. Let's just look at our frame rate. Went up to 234, and apparently I'm thirsty, and everything looks very, very soft and very, very blurry. I'm not even sure this is TSR, because TSR typically does not look this bad. Right, I might be mistaken. Anyway, but as you can see, this game uses almost none of the typical Unreal Engine 5 features, and that's why the performance is what it is. All right, so let's just do this. This time, I'm just going to restore these settings quickly at 100%, and it's a pity you can't adjust it to above 100%, but you can do that via DSR in Windows. Anyway, so let's change this over to 4K. Not entirely sure we'll be getting 60 frames per second, but let's hope. All right, so 4K on the very high preset, and I was wrong. We are getting 60 frames per second, and now the game does look quite okay. The foliage at least looks pretty good, especially at 4K. This is being recorded on a 4K monitor, so I can actually see what the game looks like, and I must say that now it looks quite impressive. I mean, it's not nearly as impressive as Unreal Engine 5 can look, but it definitely looks better than it did at 1440p, obviously, because we are running at 2.25 the actual resolution of 1440p. Input latency now feels kind of weird. Even though we are getting above 60 frames per second, the input latency does feel kind of off. Not sure what that is about. Anyway, so sorry to show you some violence on the screen here, and just getting my hides again. And it's actually quite funny because our lows and our 1% and 0.2% lows are actually much closer to the average frame rate here. Oh, yeah, to the average frame rate when we are this heavily GPU bound. And I think actually I'll probably use DLDSR on my 1440p monitor, push it to a 4K, upscale and then downscale back to 1440p for increased sharpness, because this does look pretty good and runs pretty good, and it's definitely not terrible. Now, I'm not sure if this game will be for you, but you do get bikes, right? This is not mine. I'm still working towards mine. Not entirely sure if you'll enjoy this game. It's not sure this game knows what it wants to be, because at the start is pretty strange. It's kind of like, it reminds me of Control at the start, and then you are transported to this open world crafting game. Anyway, I'll be playing it this weekend. Let me know down in the comments what you'll be playing. I'm actually curious because I am always looking for new games. But for now, I'll be trying this out this weekend and see whether I like it or not. That's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, we hope to see you in the next one.